Good after morning, my dudes. It is not Wednesday, it's the day after, it's Thursday. Yes, I can also count days of the week. I know I'm a little bit late this week, but it's because I've been trying to set up to do something pretty cool and it just doesn't, it keeps like not working out. It's like a new series of content that I'm trying to bring to the channel where I do tutorials on how tech works and the differences in experience you would have between the different layers of tech. And the first one that I've tried to start is a bit maybe ambitious, but we'll get it right. Until then, what I thought would be cool, seeing as 'tis the season to be buying laptops, is I would give you 7 different laptop recommendations, basically every 5k from 5,000 Rand all the way to 40,000 Rand. If you are buying something more powerful than that, I'm going to assume you're going to be watching a couple of reviews and maybe paying Jared's Tech and Notebook Check a review before you buy. But if you aren't, and you are relying on our information delivery service, then let me do the best job I can at each price point. Starting from the bottom at a whole 5k, we've got to mention the HP Chromebook. This is the only non-Windows machine I'm going to speak to you about because I've just tested it and it's absolutely fantastic. If you just need something to do a bit of word processing, to run some web apps and to do some YouTubing and streaming, etc., then this is literally what this device is intended to do. It's basically a tablet on steroids is the best way I could sum it up, except that you get like a normal sort of PC interface. Chrome OS is pretty fluid and straightforward to use. If you've used any Android device, you'll be absolutely comfortable on it within a few seconds because it's still the same sort of stuff. They've just made it more better for computers. But I got literally 10 hours worth of streaming battery life from a 5 grand notebook. So yeah, it's got a built-in webcam, got built-in microphones, got built-in speakers. You can take it around, do a couple of meetings here and there, whether you're doing it web-based in Zoom, or the Skype app within the Android environment. It's got enough flexibility that you can get the job done, and cheaply, cheerfully, and it's incredibly light. Bumping it up to 10k, this is what I would see you spend your money on, because the Lenovo Ideapad 3 is a fantastic little chassis. I know because we actually got one for my mom. We got a little i3 Gen because she literally does Word and she thinks BritBox is high streaming demand. So it was more than enough for her. But if you want something just for like general working and stuff that's going to run pretty nicely and not feel like an absolute dog, then this is going to be a pretty good one to go for. It's got a 4-core 8-thread. These G7 chips do run incredibly well, like single core performance. So if you're looking at 4 really good single core performers, it's going to do things like Chrome and Outlook and stuff. Absolute breeze. I would do the RAM upgrade to 12 gig RAM. It is going to make quite a difference over 8 gig. It's not a lot of money on top compared to the default price. It's about what, $700 I think it was, yeah, to make the difference. So just paying a little bit extra, get that extra bit of RAM put in there. It does have a 512 gig NVMe, a full HD screen as well. It's got webcam and all the good defaults that you generally want to see. And main thing with these is they come with a 3-year warranty as well. So Lenovo is pretty confident in this device as well, which always feels good. It's got the Iris Xe graphics, so if you want to do even some light Adobe like Photoshop and stuff, that's going to be absolutely perfect. Don't expect to edit 4K in Premiere Pro or run After Effects like a boss. That's just not going to happen. That stuff still breaks my PC, which is water-cooled AMD, etc, etc, etc. Now at the 15k mark, it's another Lenovo, because on the entry level, they are just absolutely staggeringly good. So the Gaming 3 is going to come highly suggested. It's basically previous gen, like good, like mid-range gaming sort of platform, except you get 16 gig RAM, 12 gig SSD, 3-year warranty, 120 hertz display, IPS panel. Like, it's good. It's really, really good. It's well-rounded at the price point. It's got AX wireless as well. Every single checkbox that I sort of want to see is there. It's just built in a much more understated chassis. But if the Lenovo Legions are anything to go by, they learned a lot from previous like Y570 failures and stuff. The early days of that were not good for Lenovo, but now they've come such a long way that I have complete faith in this system that it's going to be absolutely fantastic at this price. Bumping it up to 20k, we get pretty much my absolute favorite chassis right now, especially where bang for buck is considered, the whole package. I think this is the best value laptop on the entire store, pretty much, even at this price point and spec. I genuinely think price versus performance, this thing is currently unmatched. Why? Because it's got the new 12500H. if you're reading this correctly, yes, it's 12 cores, 16 threads. It's a little animal or worth of processing power. 16 gig RAM. This particular one I've spec'd with a 1 TB SSD to get it to the 20k price point. You can just get it with a 512 and save yourself a couple bucks. Obviously, it's got an RTX 3050 4 gig that runs pretty much the best in class, Wi-Fi 6E, full HD or 720p webcam with like the array microphones and stuff. Main thing is the screen's good, the keyboard's good, the touchpad is good, the general experience and the build quality of the chassis is absolutely fantastic, and battery life was good too. When I did review this unit, I was impressed with absolutely everything. The only thing that I would like them to see maybe do in the future is get the ports around the back middle, which is just, you know, it's just a little bit better as a usage experience. But that's really my only criticism of the entire notebook. So just understand how good this thing really is. Now we get into some more serious gaming at 25k, and I hope you're ready for some Tuf A15 recommendations, because ASUS has really made this their like bread and butter mid-range, like really well-priced gaming systems. And compared to the A15, there's been significant upgrades, including cooling performance, etc. So I mean, just look at this thing spec. Yes, it's a 5800H. It's still an 8-core 16-thread processor, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 TB NVMe, 144 Hz 1080p monitor with a 3060 gig at 25k. I mean, I helped a homie buy a laptop basically this exact spec like not a year ago. It was over 30, so they've done a really good job to get it in at this price point with everything else in line. 2-year warranty on this is the only sort of like little bit of a detractor step back, but you can see the build quality and everything has been significantly improved. They've even included, I mean, like a little thing, like a little hatch over the middle like that to make it easier to open and close and stuff. So very good job here from ASUS. And unfortunately for you maybe, but not unfortunately for them, the very next laptop, guess what? It's an ASUS Tuf A15, because now it's with a 6800H and 32 gig RAM and 1 TB SSD and blah 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 and 3070. Because it's just, if you look at this sort of price point, there's like relatively little that can challenge them. I mean, you could drop it back down to a 16 gig RAM and 512 gig NVMe, and then it hits the price point almost exactly. But the difference between the 6800H and the previous model, it's not going to be that much. And then unfortunately, because of the way that it's set up in the market, you jump straight from this, even with the 32 gig RAM and the 1 TB SSD setup, the jump from here really is to the Crosshair 15, because absolutely everything in between gets destroyed by this thing's specification. Mostly because it's got a 12900H, so 14 cores, 20 threads. I've tested these 12700Hs and the 12800HX, and they're both nuts. So it's 12900, so it gets the 5 gigahertz treatment, 32 gig RAM with a 1 TB, with a 1440p 165 Hz panel. So the panel's even a considerable spec up, with then the 3070 Ti, which does make a considerable difference between the two chips. There's with the right cooling and stuff, which is what this chassis was built around. I mean, it's built in conjunction to be a branded type of chassis. It's built with Rainbow Six. That's why. So they're not going to build a rubbish one and then put Rainbow Six extraction branding and stuff on it, are they? So this chassis is really good, and the price point started out a little bit high because I think people thought the Rainbow Six Siege fandom was stronger than it actually is. But now, for the rest of us, if you don't mind yellow, there's nothing at this price point that's spec like this. 2-year warranty as well. Not sure why these really high notebooks have 2-year warranties, but that's how they set up. Maybe that's the general rotational lifetime for these sort of things. But price versus performance, there's nothing like it. There's nothing that even comes close. The next in line was like another 10% on top. So yeah, if you want to pay $5,000 to not have yellow, sure, knock yourself out. But will it be a better notebook? Probably not. And those maloptions are 7 notebook suggestions. I realized 2 of them are basically the same. It's just to kind of give you an indication of where the market's at right now, especially in that mid-range. It's kind of just a tough battle, if you know what I mean. It's tough competing with itself as an entry-level sort of high-end gaming budget premium. Budget premium right now by the ASUS Tuf. Otherwise, you're looking at a Victus or Omen in that sort of mid-range sort of space, honestly. And then on the entry level, just Lenovo is just absolutely crashing. I do really like Legion 5s as well. If you do like the way that looks, it does have the ports coming out the middle, especially if you want to use it as like a desktop replacement / work environment type setup. Then I've probably, I don't want to lie, it's probably somewhere in the region of 10 now of those notebooks have gone into my business partners' businesses as well, and they're absolutely flawless. They never really give any problems. So those come highly recommended. HP Victus, HP Omen for the high end. Your ASUS Tuf A15, anything on the newer specifications, 5000 series and newer, top tip on that. And then MSI on your high end, really, as you've seen with the Crosshair, they're just kind of undefeatable. Anywho, this is all I have for you on notebooks. If you have enjoyed this, then please hit us up with a like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the flip side.